Hello everyone, it's Nina and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing my mid-year flip through for my reading bullet journal. This is a little bit belated because probably by the time this video is going to go up, it will be August already. But I thought I would show you what I've done in my journal so far this year. Some of the spreads are a little unfinished when we get to June and July. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with all of the progress that I have done in my journal, and I have been keeping up with it for the most part now. So let's go ahead and get into looking at my journal. Actually, before that, I want to mention where my journal is from. My journal is the Suki Kinoko A5 size journal from Notebook Therapy. It has this velvet texture for the cover. And I think this might have been limited edition, so you can't get this particular design with the red cover with the mushrooms on it anymore. But Notebook Therapy sells a ton of different journals with very similar styles to this. It has a elastic strap as well as 2 bookmarks on the bottom. So let's go ahead and open this up and I can show you what my spreads look like. So my first page is my title page, which to go with the overall theme for my journal, I did use a lot of mushrooms as well as doing a general more vintage scrapbook design. If you want to see my setup for all of the intro pages of my journal, I will link my setup video in the upper corner. So this is my first proper intro page. I have a bio about some things about myself as well as some of my favorite books on the bottom, as well as this kind of title page for my journal saying that this is my journal for 2024. Over here I put my reading goals as well as giving more of a description for what my rating system is like. And down here I have the elements of CawPile. I don't actually use CawPile as a format for rating things, but I do think they are interesting things to take into consideration when I am forming different reviews for books. The next spread lays out all of the general stats for each month. I kind of wasn't sure what exactly I was going to track in each month when I made this spread. But in general, I've been doing the number of books, number of pages, number of hours, as well as the average rating, and then talking about how many of the books in the month are from my 24 books to read in 2024, as well as how many of the books are making progress in different series that I've started. The next spread is my 24 books I want to read in 2024. I have them marked all down here, which I've also added star ratings for the ones I have read. And I've also colored in on this side the little boxes for all of the books that I have read. This next spread over here is my series tracker. This basically includes all of the series that I was in the middle of that I was planning on continuing at the start of 2024, as well as some new series that I started this year. All of the ones with a gray square are the books I had read prior to this year, and then the books I have since read from those series are with the brown squares. And then the ones that have stars along the sides are all the series that I have completed. This next spread is my new releases spread. This was a somewhat random list of books that I was interested that were coming out in 2024, and all the ones that have a star on them are books that I have now read. This next spread is a little outdated, and that is my 5-star reads. I was printing out covers for all the books I had given 5 stars this year. I started out with these 2, which ended up being quite large, so I did downsize the overall height of the covers for the future books I'm going to put in the spread. But this spread is outdated because I have since had another 5-star that needs to go over here. This next spread I had was for Katie's Readings Patreon Buddy Reads. I had been a part of her Patreon since June of 2023 when she first launched, but I just kind of fell out of the habit of reading her monthly Patreon picks, mostly because some of them I just wasn't really interested in, or I already had a lot on my plate for that month that I didn't really want to add another book I was only mildly interested in to my TBR, but there are some ones that she has chosen that I would be interested in reading again, so this spread might get more filled out as the rest of the year goes on. The next spread over here was my book buying tracker. This one has a list of all the books I bought, and then if I read them before or after I purchased them. This spread is pretty wildly out of date because I've just gotten a lot of other books since I first started like updating this spread. I mostly right now have just kept in books that I bought new. It seems like the spread has turned into all of the ones I pre-ordered or got from book boxes, and I just haven't tracked a lot of the books that I have gotten like through thrifting or just like random other like Barnes & Noble / indie bookstore trips. I've been more so enjoying using like my digital version of this spread instead of tracking it in my physical journal. Okay, now we are getting into all of the books I have read so far this year. As I've mentioned before, the spread was inspired by Books with Chloe, who did a similar setup in her reading journal. And basically, I will go ahead and print out all of the covers of the books I read. If you want to know the heights of each of these books, I set them in Microsoft Word as 1.4 inches. And based on this journal's like dot grid size, that ends up being a box that's 6 boxes wide and 8 boxes tall. So let's go through and look at all of the books I have for this year. There are a couple ones that are missing covers that I haven't had a chance to print out yet, including all of the ones back here. And I did leave quite a few empty pages in the back because I had expected to read around 100 books this year, and I think I left myself some space to do a little bit more than that. Okay, so now we're going on to my first monthly spread, which was for January. This one I wanted to do something a little bit different because I usually do a lot of like washi tape, stickers, and like paper layering in my journal spreads, but this one I wanted to do entirely hand-drawn, which I think it turned out pretty cute. I used a like Pinterest reference image for the spread, and this month I read 9 books. And then as we go through, we will take a look at each of like my individual reviews for the books. Sometimes I do a lot of decoration, but sometimes I don't do a ton. It kind of just depends on my feeling for the individual book and if I have a lot of washi tape or stickers that match it. Now we go on to my spread for February, which I read 6 books this month. As you'll see as we get further into this journal, I did start wanting to add like more details about the books into the individual reviews. So I started doing this little like sectioned off area in the corners of each of the books and listed just kind of like general stats about them. At the very minimum, it was the page count or the amount of hours that I listened, the genre, and then the release date of the book. Now we come to my spread for March, where I read 10 books. This one, since I read the entirety of the Percy Jackson series, I decided to do all of the books together as one review and spread it across 2 pages. Here we have my spread for April, where I read 6 books. There's a couple spreads, especially with the monthly ones as we go forward, where I didn't do a ton of decorations or set like a really intense theme for the month. And April is definitely one of them. I just used a couple of things of cut paper and then some random stickers. Here is my spread for May, where I also read 6 books. And again, pretty minimal decoration on this spread. And here is my spread for June. This one I obviously wanted because it's Pride Month to incorporate some rainbows and make it very colorful and cute. And I really like the design of the spread. I used a lot more of like the more cutesy stickers that I have as well that don't really fit the more like vintage theme I have for the rest of my journal. Also, as you maybe have seen as we got further and further into my journal, I've tried to kind of like recreate the font of the titles of the books as they appear on the covers of the books themselves, just to add like another element of detail into the spreads. This bookmark is marked here because the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes review is the next one I have to write in. And now we are into July. The month is not over at the time that I'm recording this, so I just have some things laid out for me to fill in once the end of the month comes around. And I have started some of the spreads over here, but I have not fully filled in all of the spreads for the books I've read so far. And that is it for my main reading journal. I'm a really big fan of how my journal has turned out so far. Actually, going through and flipping through it now, there definitely were a couple spreads I have forgotten about that I really, really like. I really like it when my spreads have a lot of like framing around the words that I end up writing. And when I'm able to incorporate a lot of different like themed stickers to the spreads that are relevant to the books. Like with my one with Queen of Nothing, I have this little like constellation, which is obviously relevant to kind of Cardan's backstory. As well as this one for Rulebook for Restless Rogues, where I did like a dress form. And the one for Secret Lives of Country Gentlemen, I obviously put some different like bug imagery. And yeah, I'm really pleased with how my journal is looking so far. And like I said before, I'm actually not too far behind in terms of updating things. So that will definitely be my goal in the next couple weeks to get it up to the most current date. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, consider liking, commenting, or subscribing if you aren't already. Please let me know in the comments down below if I should do more journaling content in the future on this channel. I used to do monthly setups on my last YouTube channel, and I got a little burnt out of them, but I wouldn't mind doing a like more casual journal with me, just going through a couple of the spreads that I'm working on, or just doing like more regular check-ins as I finish each month. But that is going to be it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!